Yo, you already know what it is. Your boy Ronald West, and you're watching Say Word. We're here today with Jason Enrique from First Class Second Place Podcast.
Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate that.
The first question that everybody wants to ask,
Sure.
and has asked you, I'm pretty sure, is what's up with the name First Class Second Place, and what place are you in?
Well, to answer your first question, so the question I ask all the time, and you're right, I do get this question asked a lot. So the title First Class Second Place basically becomes from it's kind of a double entendre for like an underdog mentality. Like I believe in myself so much as a podcaster and the content that I can create that I've look at it as like first class tier, but I also want to keep that underdog mentality where they want to keep me in second place. Like I'm probably not going to be with the big dogs, but they doubting on me. They kind of hating on me. So I kind of have that angst and that kind of like, kind of like you in a way with that kind of bitterness to actually keep me focused and stay on my shit.
Yeah.
But I also know that I do a hell of a show, and that's not being cocky or anything like that. That's just my confidence. That's the confidence I have in my talent.
Right.
And, it's been receptive with everybody else thus far. So that's basically the gist of it. And also, Jersey is also kind of looked like as the little brother in New York, so it's like, I think it's like a first class state, but we're in second place to New York. So that was just kind of the vibe that I was rolling with. Right. And to answer your question, the second one is I'm still in second place, man. I got to keep that energy there, man. I won't stop until I'm in first, but I don't know if I'll get there.
To think about it, there's really nothing wrong with second place if you're doing like dope shit. It's like it's really tough to be in the first place. Think about it. I would say if you look at Home Improvement, Home Depot's in first place and Lowe's would be in second place. Mm-hmm. And they're both making money.
Jay-Z once said on the record, second place is the first loser.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, second place.
But either way, I still have to keep that energy and I have to keep that fire in me to keep going and not let my head get big or too confident or cocky for my own good, and then afterwards I implode. So I just got to keep that energy and that angst and that bitterness with me so that I can stay sharp.
So what inspired you? Why podcast?
Well, I've actually had an affinity for radio, specifically back in 2005. Because long story short, I was a delivery driver, and this is back then when we didn't have any technology like Bluetooth or anything like that. The only thing that you could do is probably listen to radio or CD player. But I didn't have any CD player in my work car at this time. So all I was doing was listening to a lot of Howard Stern and sports radio. Definitely a lot of WBLS 105 and Hot 97, all of that. But I found out that I ended up enjoying listening to the on-air personalities more than the actual music, because the same song could play every 15 minutes, so that really doesn't mean anything. Right. But next thing you know, I don't even realize that I'm doing it, but I'm actually imitating them, I'm copying them, I'm kind of subconsciously working on my craft. I don't even know that I'm doing it yet. Yeah. And then while I'm listening to the radio, they used to have these commercials for the Connecticut School of Broadcasting, which was in Hasbrook Heights. It's not there anymore, but I went over there, went to the orientation, didn't work out, didn't have the money for it. They didn't have for no financial aid plans or anything like that. And I had a dead end job at the time. So I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll come when I come. Fast forward to now, we have podcasting, and I actually prefer this route as opposed to being in mainstream TV or radio, because of the main reason is it's all you. This is your own creative freedom. You do it however you want to do it. You're in charge of your own stuff, and you don't have to worry about the politics getting in the way of what you really want to do.
Right. Wow.
Right.
Hey, Gisela, you'll probably agree with me. Doesn't he have the voice?
He definitely does. It's definitely like radio voice.
Right. I think that's why I don't like the way my voice sounds now. I'm like, is it me? Is this echoey? I think he has my mic.
What's crazy is I get told that on a daily basis, but it's still kind of awkward for me. I don't know. I guess I'm kind of a little bit of an awkward guy. I appreciate it, but I'm like, it still kind of makes me uncomfortable. But I'm still roll with it.
and it's real too. When I first met you, I'm like, oh snap, that voice is for real. Like I swear, I thought it was a turn on voice, but he sounds just like this off camera. Like, this is crazy.
I would like to thank Newports for this.
All right, now you were alluding to before about being an underdog mentality, and haters a little bit. So how has your support system been? And how do you feel about haters and trolls, or do you have them, and what you're doing?
I wouldn't say if I have any traitors or haters or anything like that, or trolls. But I did notice that some of the biggest supporters that I have are the ones that I'm not very familiar with. I don't have a camaraderie with, so to speak. Sometimes I'll meet people very randomly on the internet and they tell me how much they love my show and they enjoy it and so on and so forth. And I appreciate that because I feel like I'm reaching out to people and you don't really know these people. So you know that they're coming from a place of genuosity or whatever it's called. And sometimes you feel like the ones that you feel would have your back, like your family and your friends and so on and so forth, they'll support you, or in my case, they'll support me, but I feel like they'll only support me to a certain degree. I don't want to put really anybody on blast, but I'll give you a perfect example. Like my mother, I love my mother. We have a great relationship and everything, but I'm pretty sure that she's one of my least listened to listeners because maybe because of the content that I talk about, or maybe she just doesn't have the time. And she doesn't even have social media to begin with anyway. Right. So it's just examples like that where like you figure that the people that will be there for you first, they'll support you to a certain degree, but the ones that are really overwhelming, the ones that really appreciate what you do, and the ones that keep me going to keep on doing this are the ones that like were there from day one, from the podcast day one, or people that are just discovering it and they just want to keep on supporting and doing anything that they can to support it.
Wow. So no haters at all? They didn't come yet?
Not yet. Sometimes if I feel like if I don't have haters, then I'm probably not doing something right yet. So,
or you probably don't recognize them. That's why.
Yeah, maybe I just got blinders on. I don't know. I can't focus on that too much.
You know what I consider a hater? If there's anybody close to you that knows you're doing something well and held in their compliment for you, that's hate. Because you could have used that.
Probably.
You could have used that. So no matter who it is, family, friends, if there was something that you could have said that could have helped me out and you didn't tell me, that's hating.
But then sometimes your haters, I feel like they throw shade through compliments. Like they'll be like your little podcast or your little business. Or have you ever gotten any of that?
Honestly, no. And if anything, I'll say this: if there's anybody that's out there, they certainly don't have the balls or the guts to do it. They're just kind of doing it behind closed doors.
Okay. I'm kind of jealous. You don't got no haters.
No, I'm saying I don't acknowledge them. Maybe they do have them. I just don't know if they are there or what they're really saying.
Okay. Yeah, they're there.
And you never know. Sometimes the ones that I thought are the ones that are closest to me that will support, maybe they'll, like I said, they're supporting me to a certain degree, but deep down inside, they're thinking like,
What do you say? He's doing the most.
He's doing the most.
Yeah.
Trying too hard, bro.
3 years from now, Jason, where do you see your podcast?
How many years? I'm sorry?
3.
3 years. Still want to keep it in Jersey, but I feel like I also want to do a little bit more traveling, because not just from a podcast standpoint, but also from a personal standpoint, I feel like I haven't done a lot of I feel like I was behind in a lot of things in life general, and one of them is traveling. So I kind of have this idea where I actually want to, not say that I want to take my show globally or anything like that, but I would actually like to be on the road more. I'm a truck driver as my day job, so I'm, always out and about. And I just feel like if I could bring my platform to an even bigger mass, bigger groups, then that'd be great. And also I want it to be established as a place where people can actually come for genuine content, for genuine talk and conversation, and just go on from there. And whatever comes my way, it'll be a total surprise and I'll be ready for it.
Nice. Wow. So if there's anybody like your dream interviewee, I guess you would call it, somebody that you would love to interview,
right?
Who would it be?
That's easy. It would be Don LaGreca. He's a radio host for ESPN New York. And he's also the play-by-play guy for the Rangers. And the reason I chose him is because he's one of the first people that that he kind of inspired me to actually go ahead with this, because of two factors. One, if you guys think I have a great voice, you should hear his voice. His voice is phenomenal. I mean, he's not only doing radio, but he's doing games as well. So that's saying something. And two, he actually comes from my hometown of Hawthorne, New Jersey. So I figure if a guy like that, if from that area can make it, then so can I.
Oh, Hawthorne. I know it's Hawthorne Avenue. That's not good. Wow. Oh, man. So, you said you were a truck driver. And as soon as you said that's actually, you don't know that's the first time you're telling me that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought I shared that with you.
No,
before.
You never shared that with me.
Wow. Okay.
We always talked about day jobs because, I don't like to disclose my job.
Right. Yeah, I don't even know what you do. So what are we talking about?
Yeah. This tell you I work in retail. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, no.
All right. I got you. So when you said that, I was like, oh man, like everything just starts to make sense on the road, traveling, listening to the radio. It all makes sense. So here, what I want people to understand is for a busy guy, truck driver, and to do a podcast, what is your workflow like?
My workflow, it varies. Like one thing that I've recently known that I've discovered is that I have to be on a schedule, and now I feel like I was biting off more than I could chew. Like there'll be times where because with my job I never know what time I finish. So let's say I had to do an interview with you and we agreed upon at 5 p.m. Sometimes at my job, I'll probably get out at 4:45, so I'm scrambling, and it would make me late, flustered, and sometimes I'm not on my A game. And that's a hard lesson that I had to learn because I'm kind of stubborn myself, and I feel like I could be better as far as timing is concerned.
Okay.
So now scheduling is a factor for me, and now the way that I look at it is that my weekdays are more for research and planning while I'm doing my day job, and then when the weekends come, specifically Saturday, that's when I really get into work, get into production, and so on and so forth. Because now I have a steady flow. I'm more prepared, and I feel like I'm more energetic.
All right, I'm gonna throw a curveball in this one.
Sure.
With that, because I felt everything you were saying, and what I've noticed is do you get anxiety post and you post and you're constantly thinking about the future. You have something good. And you just always think about the future of it being better. You never really sit in a moment wow, I'm doing something pretty good. It's always no. But if I do this, if I get the light, if I make this, if I do this better, if I do, it's always something. So how is your mental health while doing the podcast?
It's really funny, man, because before I'm one of the most anxious people in the world because I'm a little bit of a perfectionist and I want to make sure that everything goes according to plan. And there's been moments where things don't go according to plan and I have to make an audible for lack of a better term. But as soon as I'm in front of the mic and I press record, my confidence is there. It's weird. As soon as I press record, that's my on switch for confidence. That's the best way that I could describe it.
Right.
But before then, I have these jitters. I'm I just want to make sure that I do a good job, make sure everything goes great. And it also kind of comes back to that time where I remember the very first time I ever recorded a podcast. Right before I pressed record, I was not only was I nervous about doing it and make sure that I wanted to, be good, but I was okay, I'm finally doing it because I was saying for the longest time that I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And I never got it off the ground because I was procrastinating or I let other things get in the way. And then I was no more, I got to do this because if I don't get it done now, then it's not going to happen. Wow. So that's the way that I approach on it from now on. I just remember that very first day of recording and how difficult it was, but I got through it.
And what do you wish to accomplish with the podcast?
I want people. What I want to accomplish is that I want people, for me and also for anybody that comes on, know that there's a community out there that one of the things I learned while doing it is that there's people that feel like they want to be heard. They need to be heard. They feel like they don't have a place to go to as far as getting whatever's off their chest or kind of an escape of everyday life. So that's the service that I want to provide for people, whether they listen to me or whether they want to come on and realize that we're all in this together. Just because I have maybe one or two guests doesn't mean that the people that are listening are not part of the family. That's the way that I look at it. If you're listening and you're part of the community, and if you've been on my show before, that's just an ever-growing family, and I'm just the anchor behind the ship. That's all.
Wow. This dude's a beast. I just hearing his voice.
Right.
I'm damn, it sounds good.
Yeah, so there's nothing specific that you want to give your audience, motivation.
The only specific thing that I can give that I would hope they would take away from it is motivation and positivity, because that's something that I've been looking for all my life, and I feel like if I could finally find it myself doing this, then I want to share that energy with everybody else.
So how do you think that you give them that throughout your interviews or each podcast that you put out?
Simply out of the respect. I mean, one of the things that I realized that people respect when they come on my show is the amount of research that I've done on them, and it's done in a complimentary way. Sometimes I've had people joke around saying I work with the feds with some of the things that I find out from them that they weren't even expecting, kind of like curveballs and stuff. But I enjoy doing that, and it's actually they feel like it's a compliment to them. They wonder yo, how did you find out about it? I'm actually surprised. You did your research, you did your homework, and you did this for me. I'm appreciative of that. So that's what I get out of it. And I just always try to come from a positive place. And basically the way I look at it is that if you come on my show, that means I believe in what you're doing. I don't have just anybody randomly come on my show because they want to. I really have to truly believe that if you're doing something significant, or I'm just enjoying, or I feel like you have something to bring to the table, you're allowed to see it on my show.
Right.
That's the way that I look at it. A little bit of exclusivity, but I just have to make sure that I put out the best show possible.
So if you weren't doing a podcast, what would you be doing?
Well, let me say that I'm glad that I'm doing the podcast, because before I was doing this podcast, I'd probably still be doing what I'm doing now as far as truck driving and stuff. But one of the things that really affected me as far as doing this podcast was before I did it, I was just a cog in the machine. Like, I was just an everyday, ordinary citizen, just going to work, doing his job, coming home, eating his dinner, walking the dog, go to sleep, and then do it all over again.
Basic, right?
Yeah, super basic. And for me, it was a really depressing time when that happened, because for the longest time as a kid, I always knew that I wanted to do something creative wise. I just didn't know what it was. At first, I thought maybe it was filmmaking. At first, I thought it was radio or music. I went through different kinds of avenues, and nothing just happened to stick. And then I just kind of, for lack of a better term, gave up and just realized that I'm just going to be a natural, ordinary citizen with nothing special about me, and I just got to accept it. And then not only but it actually affected me mentally. And I was in a dark place for a long time. And I just seeing everybody else doing significant things, even small things like, getting married and having families. And I'm not doing any of that. So this actually got me out of that rut.
It's like an outlet, right?
Absolutely.
For you to get to speak up and speak to other people.
Right. Yeah. Because, again, also going back to with my family and friends, like, as much as I love them, I often felt like I was the black sheep. Like, and I felt like I guess I want people to look at this as an outlet for them to, as a release, to know that this is coming from a place of love and positivity and motivation, because that's the place that I was looking for as well. But the difference is I had to create my own.
Right.
I always say that you got to figure out something. You have to perfect something to know, like, what you're going to do. Like, when you said that, when you're working, you're doing the truck driving.
Yeah.
Before that, like, what did you do? What did you perfect before you began to decide to do a podcast? Before you pressed play, that first time you pressed play when you were anxious, what else were you doing? Or was it the first thing? This
is the first thing. And
wow.
And I think that's what really caused my depression, because I felt like I was never good enough at anything. I was a terrible student in school. Right. I often felt like I was the black sheep of my family. I'm in my 30s, where, like, I'm not married, I don't have any kids, and I feel like I felt like I was always constantly doing something wrong. And then sometimes I would go the extra mile, meaning that, let's say if I forgot something, like an important document or whatever that I really need for, like, DMV or something, and that can't be processed, and then I have to do the process all over again. Then I would go through bouts where I'm like, I'm the worst piece of shit on earth. Like, I'm so stupid, so on and so on. Like, really dark negative thoughts, and it really affected me. And this has actually helped me realize that it's not all that bad.
What would you tell somebody that wanted to start a podcast? How would they get started?
I would say, honestly, from my personal experience, I would just say, do it with what you got. Because, like I said earlier, I was telling everybody and their mother that I was doing a podcast, and they were looking forward to it. They thought that, I have what it takes. They thought I had the voice. They know that I like to talk, and so on and so forth. But I'm such a perfectionist sometimes that I don't start doing anything until I feel like all the pieces fall into place. Next thing you know, I feel I'm losing people's interest. They feel like, oh, he said he was going to do that, but he's not really going to do that, because, he's just all talk. And I felt like I was embarrassing myself, because I was all talk, no show. I was actually contradicting myself, constantly pointing people out there that they say they're going to do something with their life and they don't. And next thing you know, I was falling victim to that. So my advice is that whatever you got, man, just whatever you're working with, just go for it. It's not going to go your way right away. It's not going to be perfect. But right there in that moment, I said, if I don't do this now, it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
So that's my advice. Like, whatever you have, it doesn't have to be all perfect. You don't have to have the best equipment. You don't have to have the best quality. The first step is just getting your foot in the door, putting your foot on the ground, and just go from there. You do that, and then afterwards, everything will figure itself out.
Wow. And he forgot to mention, you don't have to have a perfect voice like his, the same thing I would tell.
We should keep tally how many times he compliments the voice.
I love it. You know what the crazy thing is? I would tell somebody the same thing, like, but mine would sound different. It would be like, just get your cell phone out and just record yourself on a cell phone.
Right.
And people will look at you like, I'm not doing that, bro. Come on. Like I gotta have a camera. I gotta have this. I gotta have the right mics. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, well, that was my problem, and that's why I'm urging your listeners that has those thoughts and are saying those things like, man, I'm not gonna do it with a camera. I'm not gonna do it on a crappy microphone. None of that matters, bro. You just have to make sure that you do it. You know,
Right.
I mean, some of the greatest directors in the world work with very little money and very crappy equipment, and then afterwards they were able to ascend later on into what they eventually are.
Okay.
So. Nothing. It's the same. It's the same saying as everybody always says. Rome wasn't built in a day.
Right.
You know, all I really needed at that time was just a microphone and a recorder and my notes, and I just went from there. As soon as I got that out of the way, then I was really able to like roll with everything else that came with it.
Okay. Cool. All right. So this is the point now
Yeah.
where we get to the
The nitty gritty.
the nitty gritty, the say word stuff.
Oh, okay.
I call this stuff. I try to call this stuff the SEO optimized stuff. So here's the deal. I know that when I went to your house, and we recorded, Monty, your dog.
Yeah, shout out Monty. Shout out Monty.
Very lovable dog. So I think it might have been that same night. I went out to eat with my wife.
Okay.
And I go to a restaurant in Montclair. I'm not going to say the name. I was enjoying my dinner, but along the way,
Yeah.
not a baby husky, not a big husky,
No.
but about a teenage husky.
Yeah.
Guy came in through the restaurant. It was outdoor.
Okay.
I will say that because I don't want to make it too. It was outdoor, but came through the restaurant with his teenage husky.
Okay.
So the husky's right here by the table. So what do you feel about dogs in restaurants?
That's a little bit of a catch-22, man, because listen, I love dogs. I'm a huge dog lover. I have a soft spot for them. However, I feel like there's a time and a place for everything. Like if you want to bring him into like I don't know, like a Target or something like that, you know, where they could be like in a cart or restrained with their leash or whatever, that's fine. But when you're dealing with people's actual food, like restaurants and so on and so forth, I don't think it's a place for them to go.
Oh,
I agree.
Yeah.
Stay away from my food.
Right. Because listen, my dog, as much as I love him, he sheds like a motherfucker. So if I brought my dog into a restaurant, I know for sure that some kind of hairball is going to land in somebody's soup or some shit.
That's disgusting.
Yeah.
and the waiters and the waitresses. Well, there were no waitresses. That's weird. The waiters were petting the dog.
Yeah, that's also unsanitary too, man. You know, if anything, and I was in the service industry as well, and me being a little bit of a germaphobe, not a lot, just a little bit, I was that guy that was constantly washing his hands when I would touch like door handles or like a piece of lemon or whatever. I was just that guy. But I know some people that are not, that are a lot like that. I've seen people in the restaurant industry that I used to work with that they can go to the bathroom. I'm in the bathroom with them. They just do what they got to do and don't even wash their hands.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Don't tell me that, Jason.
This is like 10, 12 years ago. So
it's even worse now.
Right.
Because this elevates.
Well, who knows, man? I mean, with the pandemic, people have actually got more,
Right.
used to like.
Oh.
True. COVID helped with that.
Yeah.
COVID's over.
Creating. I mean, I heard biting.
He got it again. Yeah.
Now.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Joe Biden got COVID.
Joe Biden got COVID for the second time in weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he's fully vaccinated.
Right.
And
Probably
boosted.
It is super vaccinated. So the
Yeah.
boosters and everything. Yeah. I'm fully vaccinated.
Me too.
Cool. I'm not boosted up though. I don't have the super
I
boosters.
only have one booster. I'll even tell you this. So, I got COVID for sure for the first time, but I feel like it was my second time because I think there was a chance that I had it before we were officially in a pandemic. But anyway, so I actually got it for sure last Christmas, and right a week before I got it, I had just got my booster. And I guess because of that, I don't know if it really affected it or if, just my immune system in general. The only thing that I felt was just my loss of smell and taste for like a day, and then it came back the next day. I was pretty much asymptomatic for the rest of the week until I tested negative.
Javelle, you got COVID?
No.
Never?
I mean, I think I did, but I think it was so early on, like you said,
Yeah.
before it became a pandemic that I don't know. They didn't even have like a COVID test at that time. But
and you know what it is also, and not to cut you off, but I think that people are they're more lenient on it now because now they know what it's about and how it affects the body and so on and so forth. I think one of the scariest aspects of it in the beginning is that people didn't know anything about it. So they didn't know if you were going to die. They didn't know the symptoms. They didn't know what to take, what not to take, all that stuff. It was all the uncertainty that caused all the disruption and the chaos that ensued in the beginning. But now that we pretty much know all done our homework on what COVID is, we're just now treating it like the flu.
Well, that just wraps everything up, man. Jason Enrique, First Class, Second Place podcast. Thanks for having you. We really appreciate that, man.
Hey, man, I appreciate you having me on the show, man. I was looking forward to this, and I had a lot of fun.
All right, cool.
And thank you very much, Giselle. I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Newly monetized, Gisella.
Yeah.
God. Let me hold something.
I used to stick my neck out just for them to turn around and wanna see me bled out. Gotta keep an evil eye, they try to put a hex out. None of you can match the quality, you feel like thread count. Used to have a lot of fucks to give, now I'm fresh out.